Hello. Today, we will be covering the basics of loops. Loops can be used for many different things. The two main ways are a way to repeat something some determined amount of times, like printing the word hello 5 times, without having to write the same line of code 5 times. A way to travel or go through lists and access different elements of the lists. Here's some other facts. All loops must have a way to get from number to number. All loops must stop, and there has to be a way to stop them. Now let's go through the types of loops, the syntax, the uses, and differences between them. The first type of loop is a for loop. On the screen, please observe the syntax for a for loop. A for loop is basically saying, for this range of values, do this. The variable I is just a placeholder for anything. It also does not have to be I. The name of the variable can be anything. For now, you can put an integer, but eventually you might have to change the data type depending on what you want to use the loop for. So first it initializes the int I variable. Then it checks if I is less than 5. Then it runs the code inside the brackets, printing hello. Then it increments I. Eventually the math operator shown will check the I value, and it will fail as I will be 5, and 5 less than 5 is false. So the loop will stop. So at the end there will be 5 hellos printed. Next, let's talk about while loops. On the screen, please observe the syntax for a while loop. A while loop is basically saying, while this condition is true, keep doing this. It starts by initializing a variable before the loop, in this case ni equals 0. Then the loop checks the condition, I less than 5. If it's true, it runs the code inside the curly brackets. Here it prints hello, and then increments I using 2 plus signs. After each loop, it goes back and checks the condition again. As long as I less than 5 is true, it keeps printing hello and increasing I by 1. Eventually, I will become 5, and the condition I less than 5 will be false. At that point, the loop stops. So again, you'll get 5 hellos printed. The key thing with while loops: you must make sure your condition eventually becomes false, or it will loop forever. Unlike for loops, the setup is not all in one line. You control that manually. Here are the uses and key differences. First, let's discuss the uses. The first question you want to ask yourself on when to use either loop is, do I want to loop until some amount or until some condition? Let's look at an example on the screen. The reason we use a while loop here is because we want to loop until the list has 5 elements. Of course, you could use a for loop here and add an if statement to check for the list size, but this is much more efficient. This works because we want to loop for a certain amount of elements, the contents of the list. Again, you could use a while loop, but this is easier. Here are the key differences. The headers of both are very different, as shown through the examples throughout this lesson. The way the loop flows and the critical logic of how each loop works is also very different and is very important to not run into any errors. Understanding the logic of the loops will help better understand when to use each. There you go. Now you know the basics of loops. Go out there and code.